If you've ever glanced at the numbers, you already know this. Reaching 80 is no small thing. It's a real milestone. Yet staying healthy, active, and engaged well beyond that age often feels out of reach for most people. And that raises a quiet but important question. Why do some people seem to slow down so quickly, while others keep their spark well into their 90s? Why do some remain curious, steady, and connected, while others fade earlier than expected? This isn't about luck. And it isn't just about genetics. What we are talking about today are patterns. Patterns that begin much earlier than most people realize. Often in the 60s. Sometimes in the 70s. Long before 80 ever arrives. In this video, we'll look at 4 common reasons. Many seniors struggle to maintain a long, vibrant life after 80. And just as importantly, we'll explore the 4 practical approaches that people who age well tend to use. Not extreme routines, not rare cases, just everyday choices, simple habits, and ways of living that quietly add up over time. You'll see how certain habits can gradually speed aging, while others help people stay stronger, calmer, and more independent as the years pass. If you stay with me until the end, you won't just understand what often holds people back later in life. You'll also come away with clear, realistic steps that may help you tilt the balance toward a longer, more meaningful journey. Whether you're in your 60s or 70s yourself, or you care about someone who is, this conversation matters. Because healthy aging isn't about chasing numbers. It's about how life feels, year after year. Now, let's begin. Reason number 1. Losing a sense of purpose and daily meaning. One of the strongest reasons many older adults begin to decline later in life is not physical at all. It's the gradual loss of purpose. Not purpose in a big, dramatic sense, but the quiet reason to get up in the morning. People who continue to wake up with something to look forward to, no matter how small, often remain sharper, more active, and more hopeful as the years pass. This sense of purpose doesn't need to come from a career, or a large family, or anything impressive. Sometimes it's very simple. Caring for a small garden, helping a neighbor now and then, looking after a pet, having one place where you're expected to show up. The trouble begins when those daily reasons slowly fade. Friends pass away. Children grow busy with their own lives. Old routines no longer fit the body or the season of life. At first, the change feels manageable, but over time, something shifts. When purpose slips away, motivation often follows. People stop pushing themselves just a little. They move less. They engage less. Not because they can't, but because nothing seems to be pulling them forward anymore. Many long-term studies suggest that older adults who feel they have a reason to live, a goal, a role, or a responsibility, tend to cope better with setbacks and maintain their well-being longer than those who feel adrift. Not because purpose magically extends life, but because it gives days structure, and structure keeps the mind and body engaged. That simple feeling of being needed by a partner, a friend, or even a four-legged companion can light something deep inside. It supports resilience. It encourages movement. It gives shape to time. Consider a woman in her late 70s who lost her husband after many years together. For a while, her days felt empty. Then she began volunteering twice a week at a local library. helping children practice reading. It wasn't a big commitment, but it gave her a routine. New faces to recognize, stories to bring home. She later said that small role was what helped her feel alive again during a difficult year. Too often, people give up their sense of contribution once retirement arrives, or when health becomes less predictable. But those who find a fresh reason to matter, no matter how modest, often hold on to their spark far longer. When life still seems to need you, the body and mind tend to respond. This isn't wishful thinking. It's one of the most widely observed patterns in healthy aging. And for many people, it may be the most important place to begin. Reason number 2, the quiet impact of social isolation. Another key reason many older adults struggle later in life is something that rarely announces itself: social isolation. It doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly. As people get older, social circles often shrink. Neighbors move away. Old friends pass on. Family may live hours away, or even further. Sometimes this happens so gradually that it's barely noticed. Daily conversations turn into weekly ones. Weekly connections become occasional. Before long, days begin to blur together, and loneliness quietly takes hold. Many people underestimate how deeply isolation can affect them, because it doesn't always feel dramatic. It simply feels empty. Over time, feeling disconnected can influence mood, motivation, energy, clarity of thinking. Not because someone is weak, but because human connection matters. Many long-term studies suggest that persistent loneliness can place real strain on both mental and physical well-being. It can affect how people cope with stress, how engaged they feel with life, and how resilient they are during difficult periods. What's especially important to understand is that isolation often affects people who were once strong and independent, not because they lost ability, but because they lost the social ties that gave their days shape and meaning. Consider an older man in his early 80s who lost his wife after many years together. At first, he managed well, but gradually, meals became solitary. Morning walks stopped. Television filled the quiet hours. It wasn't until a neighbor invited him to join a small local coffee group that things began to shift. Nothing extraordinary happened. They talked. They laughed. They shared stories. Within weeks, he seemed lighter, more engaged, more himself. Small moments of connection can have a powerful effect. A short conversation on the porch, a phone call at the same time each week, a familiar face to wave to. These moments remind people that they're still part of something. Older adults who stay socially engaged, even in modest ways, often cope better with change. They tend to feel steadier, more hopeful, and more connected to life. Social connection doesn't need to be busy. It needs to be regular. And even the smallest connections can gently lift the weight of loneliness. If this resonates with you, you can simply leave a short comment below. And if you'd like more calm, practical insights like this, you're welcome to subscribe. Now, let's continue. Reason number 3, the quiet impact of declining mobility. For many older adults, one of the biggest obstacles to aging well is a gradual loss of mobility. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it shows up in small ways. Getting out of bed takes a little longer. A morning walk feels more like a task than a pleasure. Balance doesn't feel as steady as it once did. At first, these changes are easy to dismiss. After all, some stiffness and slowing down can feel like a normal part of aging. But here's the quiet risk. Losing mobility isn't just about moving more slowly. It touches every part of life. Once walking feels difficult, or confidence on your feet begins to fade, many people start cutting back. They skip outings they once enjoyed. They stop attending social events. They decide it's easier to stay home. Not because they don't care anymore, but because they're worried about falling, or feeling embarrassed, or becoming a burden. The less people move, the weaker their muscles become, and the weaker the body feels, the less confident the mind becomes. This cycle can spin quietly, without anyone noticing at first. What's especially concerning is how quickly independence can slip away. Simple tasks, carrying groceries, stepping into the shower, climbing a few stairs, can begin to feel overwhelming. When that happens, people often rely more on others, family, neighbors, carers. And with that shift, confidence can take a real hit. Many people begin giving up hobbies, routines, and social moments that once brought them joy. Consider an older woman in her mid-80s, who had always taken pride in her independence. She enjoyed gardening, walking in the park, and baking treats for her grandchildren. After a small fall at home, she became cautious, then hesitant. She avoided certain activities, afraid it might happen again. Before long, she spent most of her days sitting, watching life move past her window. Her legs grew weaker, her energy faded, and she began to feel older than her years. But even when mobility begins to slip, there is still room for hope. Older adults who find safe, manageable ways to keep moving often regain confidence over time. Gentle stretching, water-based exercise, short daily walks with a friend. Movement doesn't need to be intense. It needs to be consistent. Regular movement supports muscles, protects balance, and helps the heart do its work. It also supports something just as important: confidence. Many communities offer activities designed specifically for older adults. Chair-based exercise, balance classes, water aerobics. These spaces don't just support physical health. They offer connection, laughter, shared experience. Aging doesn't mean giving up on movement, or on the things that make life feel full. With gentle effort and the right support, many people discover they're still capable of more than they expected. Reason number 4: underestimating daily nutrition and hydration. Many older adults don't realize how strongly daily nutrition and hydration shape how life feels later on. Not in dramatic ways, but in quiet, everyday ones. As the years pass, the body changes, not just on the outside, but deep inside as well. Metabolism slows, digestion becomes more sensitive, even taste can shift. Because of this, it's easy to fall into familiar patterns, eating the same simple meals, skipping proper cooking, or losing interest in food altogether, especially when living alone. But what you eat and drink most days has a powerful influence on energy, strength, and how steady the body feels over time. Let's start with nutrition. As people age, the body's need for certain nutrients often increases. At the same time, appetite may decrease. This creates a quiet mismatch. Less hunger, but greater need. It's tempting to rely on quick meals. Toast, cereal, a can of soup. Easy choices, comfortable choices. But over time, these meals may not provide enough protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals. Without enough support, muscles gradually weaken. Many older adults lose muscle without realizing it. This process becomes more noticeable later in life and can affect balance, recovery, and confidence in everyday movement. Getting enough protein with meals helps support muscle and strength. Simple sources can make a difference. Eggs, beans, dairy, fish, lean meats. Adding colorful fruits and vegetables supports immunity and digestion. Fiber becomes especially important as well, helping digestion and supporting steady energy. Then there's hydration. As people age, the sense of thirst often becomes weaker. That means it's easy to go long stretches without drinking enough fluids. Dehydration doesn't always feel obvious. It can show up as tiredness, foggy thinking, feeling unsteady. Even mild dehydration can increase the risk of dizziness and unnecessary health concerns. Making a habit of sipping fluids throughout the day can make a real difference. Water, herbal tea, clear soups. Small, steady habits support the body quietly. Consider an older man in his early 80s who began feeling weaker after moving into an apartment. He was eating less, skipping meals, drinking very little. Once a simple meal routine was put in place, regular meals, a bit more protein, and water kept within reach, his energy gradually returned. He began walking daily again, and said he finally felt like himself. Healthy aging often comes down to daily rituals. What goes on the plate? What goes into the glass? Not perfection, just consistency. Balanced meals and regular hydration aren't luxuries. They're forms of daily care that help older adults stay steadier, more independent, and more comfortable in their own bodies. Every small choice adds up. Before we finish, let's take a quiet moment. Think back over what we've talked about today. Which part stayed with you? Was it the idea of having a reason to get up each morning? Staying connected with others? Keeping your body moving, even gently? Or paying a little more attention to food and water each day? You don't need to change everything at once. Healthy aging isn't about big gestures. It's about small choices, repeated over time. A short walk down the hallway. One phone call to someone you trust. An extra glass of water. A simple routine that gives the day some shape. Growing older doesn't mean giving up. It means finding new reasons to keep going. No matter your age, you still have the ability to shape your days, to matter to others, and to live with purpose and quiet pride. The road ahead may not always be smooth, but you don't have to walk it alone. Every small act of care for your body, your mind, or your spirit adds up over time, and that matters. If this video gave you something to reflect on, you're welcome to leave a short comment below. Even one thought is enough. And if you'd like more calm, practical conversations like this, you're welcome to subscribe. Thank you for spending this time here. We'll continue the journey together.